I've been doing these kind of presentations for over 35 years now. But one of the reasons that I started doing these type of presentations was to change images that people have in today's society about American Indians. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mark Tyak, and we're here today from the Piscataway Indian Nation. And it's our people, the Piscataway Nation, that's the indigenous tribe today, right to the state of Maryland. But at one time, our people, we inhabited all of these areas of Northern Virginia. We inhabited the entire state of Maryland, and we extended into Delaware, New Jersey, straight across Pennsylvania, and all the way up into the Ohio Valley. What I found over the years is that today's society, some of the things written in the history books, it's not from our stories. Some of the things that people have learned about our people, they've learned about it from some of the old Western cowboy and Indian movies. Today we have sport teams that use American Indians as mascots. People learned about American Indian history from cartoon characters. So when we started doing these type of programs and presentations, it was so that we could tell our stories from our words and our interpretation. We could share the beauty of our culture and traditions so that we could change those images, showing a very positive but a very accurate image of American Indian people. We want to take a little survey. We want to take a little poll. We want to find out how many people's minds have been affected by the media when they think of American Indians. Now, we're all here to have a good time. We're all here to enjoy ourselves. So there's no reason at any time to feel shy, bashful, or embarrassed. But by a sign of hands, how many of us here have ever heard this before? If you have, raise your hands. Well, for us as Native people, the drum, it represents the heartbeat of life. And our elders have always told us, as long as we keep our drum alive, that the beauty of our culture will carry on for our children, for their children, and even as far as our 7th generation still yet to be born. But it also teaches us that no matter what ethnic background a person comes from, what religion they believe in, or what sector of the world they were born in, that we're all members of the human family together. And we all have that same heartbeat. And we all have the same love in our hearts for our friends, our families, and our communities. And that's what the drum represents. It represents the heartbeat of life. So, if your heart ever sounds like this, if your heart ever begins to feel like this, go to your phone immediately, dial 911. I guarantee you're having a heart attack. Musical instruments. We made many styles of musical instruments also. How many of you here thought a long time ago American Indians did rain dances? If you did, put your hands up. It's okay. How many of you actually thought we could make it rain? Boy, I wish I knew how to make it rain through a rain dance. Water, that is the gift of life. Without water, we would not survive as human beings. Without water, we would not have had our corn, our potatoes, our beans, and other food items. We would honor through songs and dances all the animals that we saw in the environment. We would give thanks for the happiness, the strength, and the good things that we had in our families. And how we would do that is through songs and dances. Songs and dances that our people are still doing today. We would make rattles, and inside we would place corn to give thanks to the corn that gave life to our people. Inside of other rattles, we would put seeds and beans to also give thanks for the harvest that we would have. This here is what we would call, quite often they refer to it on TV as a war bonnet. This was never called the war bonnet for our people. This was always known as a chieftain's bonnet. It was the chief, and now this one here is only a replica, one for display that we share with people. But it was the chief, and only the chief, that ever wore something like this. This symbolized who was the leader of a particular nation. Just like the President of the United States, he has his symbol, his seal, that recognizes that he is the leader of this country. We had our chieftain's bonnet. Each feather that went onto the bonnet was an eagle feather. Our people believed then, as we still believe today, that God, the creator of life, had sent the eagle to our people to look after us, to guide us, to protect us. The chief, it's his job, his duty, his responsibility, just like the president of this country here of the United States. We have the same responsibilities to make sure that our people are well taken care of. Our people are fed, they're clothed, they're home, that we have our own forms, even at times of economics within our communities, and that the things that our people, the things that everyday people experience, we go through the same trials and tribulations. So it's even the responsibility of the chief to ensure that each generation that's living now today, and even as far as seventh generation still yet to be born, that the well-being of our communities are well taken care of. So it's a non-paid job too. There's no income from it. We do these things because this is how we're holding on to who we are as Native people today still. Wars and battles. Our concept of war is quite different than what we know it as today. For our people, it was a very honorable thing for a young man to go into battle. Battle not necessarily against his enemies, but maybe battle against just his opponents. Hand-to-hand combat, going up to his opponent, reaching and touching them with a feathered fan. For our people, that concept was what we call counting coup. It was a very honorable thing for our people, where it was rare that our battles were ever fought on the battlefield. Our battles were normally fought on the ball field. We had very highly organized, very highly sophisticated games our people played. One game in particular was known as Stickball. So if there was a dispute between two of our villages, we selected our best warriors. They would go onto the ball field. They would play this game, Stickball, for days upon days upon days upon days. And normally whoever won that game is how that dispute was settled. Well, today, many of our young Native youth are still playing this game, Stickball, but it's grown with much popularity all throughout the United States and even throughout the world. How many of us here have ever seen a lacrosse game? For us as Piscataway people, history's changing constantly. You know, our people, we experienced the second landing of the European people here in 1607. So from 1607 until today, we're seeing a constant change. We also came from a very strong agricultural system for our people. Our land being so fertile, we were able to grow corn, beans, squash, pumpkins, tomatoes. We would use the deer antlers. By placing a stick to the end, we were able to make our farming tools. Now myself on my head here, this is called a Piscataway. This means feather cap. If you were living a couple hundred years ago, you would have been a hunter. Being a hunter was being a provider for your family. Hunting with our bows and our arrows, getting your head down, shaking your head. And maybe the deer would think you were a bird. But we also made Pistoways to represent the nation that we came from. If we were traveling and we were long distance from our home, a person would know if you were a friend or a foe by what you were wearing. This next dance is what we call our crow dance, or what's known also as a crow hop dance. powwows, our celebrations, when these dances are being done still today. During the summer months, we begin early in the morning, and they'll go to that evening, till the sun's almost ready to set. And yes, these outfits during the summer months can get very, very hot. We'll take our outfits off, hang them up, let them dry till the following day. We'll come together as a people, a family, a community. We'll have dinner with one another. We may be in a remote area where we can set up a large bonfire. And all the elders then come out in the early evening. And the elders will tell us the stories. Stories of our grandmothers. Stories of our grandfathers. The way life was from the generation of the generation of the generation of the generation before us. They will tell those stories word by word by word, the way it was told to them when they were but little children. This is one of the ways that we as American Indians are keeping what is known today as oral tradition alive. Afterwards, we get our drum back out and we begin what we refer to today as our social dances. But the social dances that we are doing, those were some of the oldest dances that we had. They were dances that honored the animals. We honored every animal that we saw in the environment around your own nation. Those animals gave us food once again to feed our families, hides to make our clothing. But they also gave us stories. Stories on how we as human beings should properly conduct ourselves. You have to keep in mind, there was a period of time in history. We can paint any kind of pictures we want, but the facts are the facts. There was a period of time, many of the things that we even shared here today through drum, song, and dance, it was actually illegal for our people to speak our own languages. It was illegal for our people to practice many of our customs and traditions. Somebody might say, I don't know about that. In 1978, the United States Congress passed what is known today as the American Indian Religious Freedom Act. It was a special act to guarantee American Indians certain rights that everybody who's a United States citizen has underneath the United States Constitution. So when we look at it from that aspect, it has not been an easy path for us as American Indians. Much of our culture, it was dying down. So today we're seeing a new spark of Indianism. We're seeing a new pride in each generation that we have now today. So it's the revitalization of our culture. We got one last dance that we're going to present. This last dance that we're going to do here now is what we call our eagle dance. It's a very special dance that we have. We believe that God, the creator of life, had sent the eagle to our people. The eagle being sent to look after us, to guide us, protect us. But if our life ever went down a bad path, the eagle would show us the way back home to that good way of life. This dance is done in 4 parts. The first part, an eagle being born, learning to flap its wings, learning to make sounds with its voice. A baby being born, learning to crawl, learning to cry. The eagle learning to fly, but not too far from the safety and the protection of its nest. A young child running and playing, but not too far from the protection of mom, dad, or home. The eagle one day flying off to create its own nest. Like each one of you adults here today, At some point, you decided to venture into the world, to make your own path, to find your own journeys, to create your own future, and maybe also had your own homes and your own families. The eagle one day flying off to the spirit world. Like us as human beings, one day we will all walk on and meet the people that have gone on before us. Many of our native people, they take great pride in their identity. They take great pride in our culture. We try the best that we know how to hold on to who we are, but we go through the same problems that any other culture or race goes through. Now, example, you have someone who comes here to this country. First generation, they speak their language, practice their customs, follow their religion or spiritual beliefs, eat their traditional foods. Second generation, they too may speak bits and parts of the language, eat some of the traditional foods, have a little knowledge of the customs and traditions from where their family came from. Third generation, they go to ethnic festivals to experience who they are. We live in a society that everything is geared towards a melting pot that we all just blend in. So it's an amazing thing for us as American Indians to be able to hold on to our culture and our identity still today.
Very simple.